Okay, everybody. Today we're going to attempt to make Mandarin orange jelly, which I get out of the all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. And on page 65, I actually went with the basic jelly recipe. And in this jelly recipe, it's a matter of preparing the juice um, and then continuing the process from there. It's really actually an easy process, and the end result is you want to get 3 cups of juice, which I'll go through the other ingredients here shortly. So I'm very, very excited. Today I get to use my 4 jars canning lids. This is a company, it's new, but it's not brand new. They've been out for a couple of years, and I have not used them yet. And so I wanted to see what the product was like. Um, the company is from the Ukraine. They have transplanted into the United States, Florida. And when we ran into our shortages back in 2020 because of things that happened, they went full on into trying to provide a replacement to the canning community. So this product, I think, just from what I have used here and what I have seen from other YouTube channels that and people that can, is this is an awesome product. The uh, manufacturing of the product is spot on. It's a thicker, heavier metal. The thickness of the metal is 0.18 millimeters versus the conventional, which is 0.10 to 0.12. The compound on the ring is excellent. It's made perfect the way it should be. You got your little nipple in the middle for the pop effect. And it's just a well structured lid. I went through after I was done making this video and I inspected, I would say, almost every one of my lids, and the compound was intact. There was no flaws in it. There was no nicks in the white undercoating. There was no nicks or gouges in the sides of the lids themselves. And I really like how this lid sits on the jar and it feels like it's in place. I noticed that with the other products out there, I was finding that the lids almost didn't want to sit on the way that they should. These ones have no problem because the well on the outside to fit over the jar is very, very well structured, and I think it fits the way it should fit. I'm overly impressed with this product, and I think everybody should give it a try. So a little disclaimer here. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that I had a battery dying. And so when this process happened, I didn't have any video for it. So I'm just going to walk you through what I did with each of the processes. So what I did in this is I used 3 jars of the Dole Mandarin oranges in 100% juice. Make sure that there's no sugar added to them, and each of those jars was 23.5 ounces. So when you go through, one of the questions that'll get asked is, can you use canned fruit? And in this specific case, because the jam or jelly I'm making does contain an added pectin, I can then go ahead and use canned or frozen fruit for those processes. So all I did was I went ahead and took those 3 containers, put them in my food processor, whizzed them up really good. I set them through a fine mesh strainer, and then once that was done, I then again sifted it through a cheesecloth through the strainer and let it drain for about 2 hours. And I also reserved the juice. I wanted to make sure that by the time I finished with the processed juice, I had some juice to add to it if I didn't have the amount I needed, which is 3 cups of end product juice. So that's what I went ahead and did. Moving forward, also, because these are already previously canned product, I did not overly cook the oranges. I went ahead and put them in a pot, let them simmer for about 5 minutes. Then I went ahead and put them into the food processor and then pulsed them until they were at the consistency I was looking for. Again, another technical malfunction. For whatever the reason was, I didn't realize that the camera was not sitting on the pot as I was cooking this product. So I'm going to walk you through what I did. At some point at a later date, I'll probably come back and update this video and do another version of it so you can see what I did. But for that, I apologize. But anyways, we'll go ahead and go through it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the juice that you've made. You're now going to put it in the pot, and you're going to combine the fruit juice and 4 tablespoons of your bulk Ball Classic pectin. Make sure that it's a stainless steel or enameled saucepan. What you're going to do then is you're going to bring the mixture to a rolling boil that cannot be stirred down over high heat and stirring it constantly. Do not walk away from this. This is not something you can walk away from. So I want to throw out that warning. Once you've gotten to that point, you're now going to add 3.5 cups of sugar, stirring it to dissolve. And once that's dissolved, then you're going to return that to a full rolling boil. Make sure you get to that point, you boil it for 1 minute because that's part of the setting process. But make sure you're stirring constantly. Do be careful because this does become hot and you don't want to get it all over your arms or your hands. Remove it from the heat, skim off any foam that you may have, and then we can move into the next process. So now we're at a point where you can actually watch the video, and I apologize. So what we're going to do is we're going to ladle the hot jelly into the jars. Make sure the jars are hot, leaving 1/4 inch of headspace. And you got to make sure of that because that's part of the processing formula that's been established. And when we do this, we also want to make sure that we're wiping the rims. We're making sure that there's no stuff in the threading as far as jam, because we don't want that to cause us a problem when we're processing. So all I'm doing here is going to ladle this in. Again, make sure that you're using a funnel because you don't want this to drip all over the place. Now, it's not going to stop everything from going in or around where you need to, but it will help and it will try to get it in there. Again, you can see I forgot to take the foam off the top. Here a little bit later, I'll go ahead and spoon that off, but just get that up to its 1/4 inch headspace. And when you got them all filled up, then you can go from there. So after I got my 4th jar done, I realized that there was enough to do another jar. And I always put in extra jars and extra lids and bands, so that wasn't a big deal. Whether I use them or don't use them isn't the point. They're ready, they're sterilized and cleaned and all ready to go. So while that jar is sterilizing, because even though I washed it, I want to make sure it's sterilized, I'm going to go ahead and get the other 4 jars done, and then I'll come back and fill up the 5th jar with the excess stuff left over. So as you can see, what I'm doing is, remember I said that I forgot to take the foam off the top. So now I'm going through and trying to clean that off because I don't want that film on there, because it can have a tendency, especially with the citrus jelly, to put an off taste on top, and I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks either. So I'm just going through and trying to clean those off. And as always, please remember to wipe your rims of your jars. You want to wipe the threads of the jars. I actually kind of do it in one motion. This will help to keep the seal intact when you go through the processing procedure. And so now what we move into is putting our lids on, and then our rings, and making sure that they're on securely and they're centered, and that'll help in your seal process. And then again, as always, just make sure you're doing fingertip tight, because you don't want it to go buckle your seals. You don't want to give an improper seal. You want to make sure it seals as it should, and that's something we always need to be cautious of. And then as I'm done, I just go ahead and place the jars into the canner. And then now I'm going to come back and show you the completion of the 5th jar. So you see that I did get 5 jars done. So what I'm doing here is I'm just double checking to make sure there's more than an inch of water. I have almost 2 inches of water, so that's pretty good. That's where we want it to be. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on top, and then we'll come back once it's at a rolling boil. Okay, it's at a rolling boil now, so I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes. The recipe calls for 10 minutes, but because I have a higher altitude, I have to go 15 minutes. All right, it's done its time. So now I'm going to set my timer again for 5 minutes, take the lid off, and this will allow it to cool down and depressurize, and then we'll come back to it when it's done with that point. All right, we've reached our 5 additional minutes. I'm going to go ahead and turn the time or the beeper off, the alarm off, and we're going to get these out. Let's take a look at them. These are awesome looking. I am so impressed with the finished touch on this. It just seemed to be exactly what I was looking for, exactly what I was expecting, and that is wonderful. Always love it when a project does turn out right, and it's more stuff we're putting up for our families. Now it's time to roll that beautiful bean footage. Okay, maybe not, but anyways, you see what I'm looking at? I'm looking at 5 8-ounce jars of wonderful looking jelly, Mandarin orange jelly. I would call this a success. All of the jars have sealed. All of them have pinged, and I am ecstatic with the way this turned out. There you have it. Mandarin orange jelly done right, done complete, all successful. Every jar sealed like it was supposed to. And thanks again to 4 Jars Canning Lids for a wonderful product. And I definitely will be using this from this point forward. I hope everybody does give it a try. And it's amazing what you can do if you just put a little time into it and when you're working with a wonderful product. So again, thank you to 4 Jar Lids, and thank you to everybody that stopped by. Y'all come back again the next time. Bye. We thank you for stopping by Kettle Kitchen. If you like what you see, remember to hit the thumbs up, and don't forget to share. If you like the content, go ahead and subscribe and check the all reminder bell so you can be notified when a new video comes out. We would love to have you leave a comment, so please do so, and we'll return to your comment as soon as we can. Here's a video I think you might like, and thank you again, and have a great day.